Viewmasters, it's the podcast that we do. Viewmasters, talk about movies that we view. Viewmasters, my friend Eric and me, Joe. Viewmasters, hey, let's start the show.
Hello, welcome to the Viewmasters, episode 270, Steal. My name is Joe.
My name is Eric.
Steal yourself, Eric.
I will. Will I stand as well?
I assume so, once you have stealed yourself. I almost said stolen yourself, which doesn't make sense. Oh, how are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. I am mulling over how I'm going to talk about this movie.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Are you worried? Are you gonna have trouble?
I might.
Did you love it so much that it's just in above reproach?
It's possible. You know, I never give 5 stars on the Letterboxd, but this may be the one.
Oh, man. Steal.
Oh, I have avoided this movie since 1997.
Yeah, and then you picked it.
And then I did, yes. Because I figured, you know, what's the worst that could happen, right?
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's a bad movie.
Yeah, it's not good.
But it's not the worst I've ever seen, for sure.
I actually really enjoyed it.
It has its charms.
It does. I feel like there's something about superhero movies from the 90s that I will always just like you said, just I will always find charming.
Yeah.
Like even, you know, Venom, the Venom movie felt to me like a throwback to a 90s superhero movie.
It does, for sure. I still would not hold it up against, like, say, The Shadow or The Phantom. But yeah, it's got some, for sure. There's a definite throwback feel to it. I think part of it is that by now, we have been so inundated with the Marvel Universe and DC struggling to have a universe. and every other franchise in existence trying to copy the format of having their own universes, that Venom feels very singular. And that to me is like 90s superhero movies. They are just small stories presented with possibly not some great budgets.
Right.
and by that, you know, they have to be small and very insular. And it's, dare I say, kind of refreshing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I was having a discussion with because they released a new trailer for The Eternals today.
Yes,
which I have not watched.
I have not either.
Yeah. But some people that I in the Slack for the Beat were talking about it, and one of them said something like, well, I don't know what role this movie is trying to play in this phase of the MCU. And it just, like, it smacked me in the face. Like, remember when movies were just movies?
Yep.
And they didn't have to, like, they told their story and they didn't have to be, like, part of a franchise or play a role in a phase of whatever. And I just, like, I felt like an old man, you know, shaking his fist at a cloud. But it's really nice.
Yeah, I had an oddly similar reaction So Disney Plus now has started the What If series.
Yes.
The animated series. And I was on Twitter last night after watching the most recent episode, which was very good.
It was very good, yes.
Which, like, I watched the first one and I thought it was just okay. I wished it had been very good, but, you know, I didn't hate it either.
Yeah.
But I thought, you know, episode 2 was a very good step up. And I'm reading reactions on Twitter for some goddamn reason like a lunatic.
That's your first mistake.
Yeah. And everyone is like reacting to the show as if, like, you know, it's like some key component to like a larger overall story. And I'm thinking, but it's What If.
Yeah.
And to me, What If is like that weird comic series that Marvel did where they just, you know, done in one and they set up the situation and then they answer it.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And so, like, it didn't even occur to me to watch that show from, you know, well, how is this all going to play out in the end? It's like, it's a what if.
But they're all part of the multiverse.
Good lord.
The one who remains.
And, you know, and in reaction to the Eternals, you know, like, I did watch the first trailer, just because we at that point we had known nothing.
Yeah.
Outside of the fact that Kumail Nanjiani got fucking jacked.
Right. Which is all I needed to know.
Sure. And, you know, I just wanted to see, okay, you know, what's the look and feel of this thing going to be? And it was not anything that, like, excited me. And I still feel that way. Like, and to the point where I don't want to watch the new trailer because I feel like it's just going to confirm that. Let alone, like you said, you know, how it's going to fit into the Phase 4, you know, and all this stuff that now comes with all these movies.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, I used to just be excited that there was going to be a Spider-Man movie.
Exactly. we had... I was trying to pinpoint when it became terrible. and I think it was at the end of X-Men 2.
Okay.
When it teased the Phoenix. Like,
yeah.
before that, the movie was just the movie. It was standalone. If there was more, great, but if not, you're comfortable with what you got.
Right.
But at that point is when it became about sequels and like there's that, and then I thought of the end of Batman Begins where Gordon has the Joker card.
Yeah.
Like those two I feel like are turning points in superhero movies where they all became about, well, what is this setting up
right
for the future, when like the movies from the 90s and into the early 2000s were by and large they were all just standalones.
Yep.
And we loved it.
And yeah, well, because that's all we had.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I think you're right. And is X-Men 2 the first one that ever did, like, you know, the comic book movie wise, like the post-credits scene? Because I feel like that was a post-credit scene, right?
No, the Phoenix tease was actually like just the very last scene right before the credits.
Okay.
X-Men: The Last Stand did have a post-credit scene.
Yeah, I remember that.
But yeah, the Phoenix one was actually just like the last sort of sweeping shot of the movie before it cut to the credits.
Okay, all right. I thought that was like a mid-credit scene, but you're probably right.
I watched it relatively recently.
Okay, all right. And you know, and with the Marvel Universe, I mean, we're, what, 20-some movies into it now?
Right.
And you talk about it being terrible, like, I don't know what has happened, but, like, I have lost my excitement.
Oh, yeah, no, me too, 100%.
Yeah. And I feel like, I mean, the pandemic certainly didn't help.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, because these used to be things that, I would want to go to the theater to see, and now you cannot pay me to go to a theater. Like, Shang-Chi is coming out, or excuse me, Shang-Chi.
Yes.
And I do want to see that movie, but it is opening theater exclusive for 45 days before going to Disney.
Right.
And I'm just like, no, I'm not going to a movie theater to see this movie.
Yeah, it is not safe yet.
Yeah. And the extra disappointing aspect of that is that, it is a primarily Asian cast, and it probably won't do well.
Right, yeah.
And they're going to probably blame it on the fact that it's a mostly minority cast.
Yeah.
Which is fucked up and backwards. But, like you just said, it's not safe yet.
Yeah. As far as excitement goes, I feel like even just after Spider-Man Far From Home, like that one was really good, but even that one going into it, I was just like, all right, we're doing another one of these.
Yeah.
Like Endgame was the end of everything that they had built towards.
Right.
And it felt like, okay, this is a good stopping point.
Yeah.
But no, we're going to keep doing them.
I feel like with Endgame, it was, yes, it was a good stopping point, and it was everything that had been building toward. And now, and Far From Home was sort of like just the bow on everything.
Yeah.
And now, which is weird because they started off Phase 4 with a prequel, essentially.
Yeah.
To a character who is already dead. And now we have to build this whole new thing. And, it felt like, at least at the very beginning of this, like, no matter how tightly Marvel and Disney controlled what was happening, there still felt like there was, some off-the-cuff kind of things. Like, we could get a Guardians of the Galaxy out of this. Just an out-of-left-field, what the hell is this? And now it feels even more controlled, and now they are deliberately trying to make a thing from the jump. And I don't care.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I don't know how much of that, too, is, like, they're deliberately trying to make a thing, or that's just the way that people are looking at it now.
Right.
Because, like, we haven't seen Shang-Chi, so we don't know, like, how much of that seeds future things or sets future things up.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure there will be a part of that, but most of it is like, well, how does this fit in to the overall plan?
Yeah.
And, like, can't we just enjoy a thing for what it is and not care about that? And that just, I'm tired.
No, yeah, I'm 100% with you, and I am hoping that is a thing that Shang-Chi is a thing that is enjoyable on its own. But just going into it already, it's like, okay, well then, what is, how does this fit into the puzzle of whatever's happening now?
Sure.
And it does make it that less exciting for me now. And then maybe, I'm just old and grumpy. I don't know.
That's how I feel too.
Yeah. But then we have, 20 some years ago, 25 years ago, a thing called Steel.
Yeah. The movie we're actually here to talk about.
Right. I actually do want to just before we get into this, talk about the Suicide Squad real quick again.
Okay, sure.
Some things that I really wanted to mention last week that I just, plumb forgot or whatever.
Sure.
The first thing is that Suicide Squad sort of mastermind John Ostrander was in the movie.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, which was pretty cool. And then the second thing that I wanted to mention that I didn't was just at the end credits, and it feels like this is a thing that has only happened in the last 10 years or so, where they actually sort of acknowledge the fact that comic creators, worked on these things.
Yeah.
And built the stories that these movies are now riffing on. And the Suicide Squad had the biggest list of comic creators I have seen on any of these movies.
It did a very large special thanks section.
And I was very impressed and very proud. And I hope that all but 3 of those people got money for this.
I laugh because I know exactly who you're talking about. Oh, just love seeing EVS's name in the credits for something.
Sure.
But yeah, that's something that Steel does, like right
does.
up top.
That's sort of what reminded me is that they actually do it in the opening credits for this one.
Yeah.
Of course, so I'm not terribly familiar with the timeline of the comic publication, but Steel had been. I mean, he was a character who was introduced in the whole Death of Superman, Reign of Superman story arc.
Yes.
Which was, 92?
93.
93. And then, eventually graduated to his own title. And if I'm not incorrect, primarily the same creative team worked on his solo book?
I believe so, yes.
So Wheezy Simonson and John Bogdanove.
Yes.
Wheezy Simonson, Louise Simonson, is a legendary comic writer from, early 80s, comic editor, worked on a bunch of X-Men stuff, back in its heyday. She's got a husband who also does some stuff.
Yeah, I've heard of him as well.
Yeah, and John Bogdanove is an artist who, during the period of time that this movie came out, and when he was actively working on the Superman comics, I did not care for.
Yeah.
But I have grown to really appreciate his art in the last couple years.
Yeah, I've actually been through sort of a similar thing. I remember not liking it. Like I was very like you had Dan Jurgens on Superman, very
Sure.
clean style. You had Tom Grummett on Adventures of Superman, also very clean. Butch Geis on Action Comics, a little less, but still relatively. And then Bogdanove was just felt like way out there.
Yeah.
Like not what I was used to seeing at the time. So yeah, I remember bristling against his stuff initially as well.
It was weird because it was actually an old issue of New Mutants that he did prior to his work on Superman that I looked at, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. Who drew this? And I was like, what, really? It was just so fun and bouncy, and I've been looking over some of his old X-Men or Superman stuff since, and have really gained a newfound appreciation for it. It was drastically different than the other super books at the time.
Yeah, I think I sort of have been on sort of a like a Jack Kirby trajectory with him, where I didn't like him at first, and then really came to appreciate it as I got older and quote unquote more sophisticated.
Yeah. No, yeah. And I had that similar thing with Kirby as well. So, you get older, tastes change.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I could easily see myself, speaking of, watching this movie back in 1997 and hating it, and maybe coming to appreciate it now.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
But boy, it's also still really bad.
I was thinking about 1997 as the year that superhero movies died.
Yeah, it really was.
Because you had Batman and Robin,
Mm-hmm.
which you and I both love,
Yep.
but which was critically reviled.
Sure.
And
And
then
also, objectively, a bad movie.
all right.
But no, you are 100% right. I love that movie, and I will fight anyone who says otherwise.
But yeah, so you had that, you had Steel, and then Spawn had come out. I think either 2 weeks before or 2 weeks after Steel came out. And
Probably after.
okay, I've never seen Spawn, but I've heard that it's real bad.
So, Spawn is one of 2 movies that I have walked out of in the middle of watching it in the theater.
Amazing.
And I never revisited it until about 3 or 4 months ago. It was available on one of those weird free streaming channels, even though it is also currently available on HBO Max.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? I'm going to watch this. Maybe I missed something. I don't know. But no, it's fucking awful. There is no charm to that movie whatsoever. And it is also, a CG heavy movie at a time when CG was not great.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And I will say, for Steel, the good thing about this movie is very minimal CG, if any.
Yes. Yeah. Lot of practical effects in this movie.
Yes, that helps a lot.
I mean, probably the most impressive practical effect is Shaquille O'Neal.
Is it?
He is an enormous man.
He is. But if we're talking about him in the terms of a practical effect, he feels like a wonky puppet to me. Something that they just could not get quite right.
I can sort of see that, especially once he is in the suit.
Yeah.
And he's struggling against that visibly on screen.
Sure, he is struggling a lot visibly on screen. It is, I mean, he is 24 years old in this movie. And,
wow, is that all?
Yeah, and he is a basketball superstar. And the way he moves, even before having to wear 75 pounds of foam armor, he is just a lumbering ox. And I don't understand, other than the fact that he is 7'1", how is he a basketball player?
I mean, really, his big thing is dunking the ball and just bulldozing people to get to the basket. That's what I remember about watching Shaquille O'Neal play, is that he just posts up down low and then just knocks over whoever he needs to and dunks.
All right. I can see that. Because he does not seem like he's quick.
No, he doesn't at all, which is why it surprised me so much that he does so much chasing in this movie.
He does, although he does eventually give up and has a motorcycle out of nowhere.
That's true. Can we talk about how he looks on that motorcycle?
Absolutely.
He looks ridiculous on that motorcycle. He is an enormous man riding a normal-sized motorcycle.
It might even be smaller than normal size.
It might be. Yeah, it's like if I tried to get on a big wheel. Like, it just doesn't work.
No. Yeah, he is, this movie is, weird. And also, like, so I didn't pay attention to like the time coding or anything like that, but it's got to be at least 45 minutes before he armors up, right?
I think so. Yeah, it's about the midpoint of the movie.
Yeah. But even before that, I was like, well, why does he need a suit of armor? Because he is superhumanly strong throughout.
Yes, he has superhuman strength. Just like lifting large concrete walls off of people.
Yep. Just
breaking things like with a flick of his wrist. Oh man, yeah. He's a superhero before he gets the suit.
Yeah. The scene when he smashes open the wall of the insane asylum or whatever the fuck it is.
Yes.
Where Sparky is at. His good friend Sparky.
Yeah. Lieutenant Sparks.
Yeah. Just made me laugh out loud at the ridiculousness of it all.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And time for a little played segment of the show, Fun with Subtitles.
Ooh.
When he smashes open the windows. And it's like a big picture window. One of the subtitles is, "Ooh, good breeze."
That's amazing. I mean, that is the point of the scene. Which is, get some fresh air in here. But
sure, I guess.
Yeah, without the subtitles, I did not hear that.
I had to rewind it like 3 or 4 times to see if like anybody actually says it. And I did hear it, like it's in the background somewhere.
Okay.
But it's like, but there's a lot of like background chatter when it happens.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the one they focused on to make a subtitle out of.
It was important. Oh, man.
So this movie was written and directed by Kenneth Johnson, who is probably best known as the creator of The Bionic Woman and the showrunner of the Incredible Hulk TV show.
Nice.
Yeah. Who always hated sci-fi and superheroes.
Interesting. Interesting career choices, Kenneth.
Yep. He is also the creator of V.
Okay.
And was the showrunner of the Alien Nation TV show.
Wow.
Hated sci-fi and superheroes.
That's a nice Viewmasters connection, though.
Yeah, exactly. And his only other feature film before this was Short Circuit 2.
Wow, Jenny and I actually just watched the first Short Circuit.
So did I.
It's so bad.
Is it? I loved it.
It's charming. All right. Ali Sheedy is beguiling.
Yeah. And, I generally like Johnny Five.
Yeah, he's all right.
All right.
I actually think I prefer Short Circuit 2 to Short Circuit 1.
I haven't seen it forever, but I do have very fond memories of Short Circuit 2 and think it might be the better movie.
Yeah, I mean, Michael McKean's great in it.
Well, he's great in everything.
Exactly. Oh, but yeah, 50-year-old white guy writing this movie.
Yep.
I read in the IMDb trivia that he took the script like into a predominantly black neighborhood and just like hung out there.
Yep.
To make sure that it sounded right.
Yeah, I think they lied to him.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because there is nothing natural about this dialogue in this movie. Spoken by any of the characters.
Yeah.
This movie is one rec center needs to be saved away from being a made-for-TV special.
That's absolutely right. Like all that they needed was the grandma needs a heart transplant,
right? But instead, she just opens a restaurant in her front yard.
Yeah, apparently.
I guess in Los Angeles zoning laws are very loose.
It's a pop-up, so it's
okay.
fine.
All right.
One of the first pop-up restaurants.
Oh, sweet.
I was glad that she finally got the souffle to work. I would have been really disappointed if they had not paid that gag off. So
I mean, it's Chekhov's souffle.
It really is.
The only other way overused thing is that John Henry Irons is bad at basketball.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh, right to the point where it becomes a life and death situation.
That was amazing. Honestly. Like, of course that's what this is going to be. He holds a live grenade for a really long time.
Yeah, I mean, we can only just assume that he, held the clasp closed, right?
I guess so, but still, that's nerve-wracking.
It's very nerve-wracking. Also, like, when it is just, like, bouncing back and forth between, like, the mesh of the fencing, surely it would have exploded by then, right?
You gotta get the tension of, is it, is it gonna rim in or rim out? Who knows?
Right. Yeah. Oh boy. So I did a little extra homework on this.
Ooh.
I read the oral history of Steel.
Oh my god, there is one? I didn't know.
Yeah. It was part of the series that was done with in conjunction with How Did This Get Made?
Oh, that's awesome.
So it is available on Slash Film for anybody to go read.
Excellent.
They mostly just talked to Kenneth Johnson, but then like a handful of other people. And like this movie it was made basically between the Summer Olympics of whatever year it was made, I guess 96.
Yeah, it would have been 96.
And the start of basketball season. So they had like 5 weeks.
Oh, wow.
At least just for Shaq himself to be in the movie.
Sure.
They filmed other stuff, obviously, without him. But it still only took like less than 2 months to make. Are you there?
I'm here. Yeah, okay. I'm listening.
All right.
I am wrapped.
But and apparently, when Shaq was in the Olympics, they sent an acting coach along with him. And every night when he wasn't playing, they would run lines.
That's awesome.
And he did come back with the script memorized.
Nice.
Yeah. But no real acting ability still.
Yeah, that didn't really take.
Yeah. I mean, God bless him, he tried, right?
He did, and he doesn't have to do a ton in this movie.
Yeah.
I thought that so Richard Roundtree is in this movie.
Yep.
As the tinkerer guy who helps with his gear.
Yeah.
And I thought for sure he was going to die and we were going to get like a big emotional scene, especially when Richard Roundtree is driving around with Shaq and his dog.
Sure.
To find crimes to fight. And I was like, oh man, is Shaquille O'Neal going to be able to pull off this sort of gutted, my mentor has died, what's that gonna look like? So I was honestly a little disappointed that we didn't get that.
We get a taste of it at the very beginning when his best friend Lieutenant Sparks is crushed under a bunch of rubble.
Yeah, that's true. I guess we sort of do.
Yeah,
but he just hulks out at that point.
No, that is true. He does. Because, again, the director had that experience.
Exactly.
Which, actually, now that you mention it, that is the entire plot of the first episode of The Hulk.
That's true. I guess it is, isn't it?
Is people finding great strength under tremendous trauma stress.
Oh, man. Lieutenant Sparks played by Annabeth Gish.
Yes.
Who is delightful.
She's all right, yeah.
I thought she was great.
I do want to read one quick thing from the Steel Wikipedia page.
Oh, I'm excited.
It is. I gotta pull it up real quick. Sorry, but it is like in the first chapter or the first paragraph. It was a phrasing that struck me as just real weird.
Okay.
Yeah. The film stars Shaquille O'Neal as John Henry Irons and his alter ego Steel, Annabeth Gish as his wheelchair-using partner Susan Sparks.
Is that her defining characteristic?
Also, is she wheelchair-using or wheelchair-bound?
She doesn't need it. That's the big twist, is she's actually not wheelchair bound. She just likes it.
Oh, okay. Which actually does bring me to the end of the Wikipedia plot summary.
Oh, okay.
Which, spoilers for the movie. In the grand opening of her restaurant, Irons' grandmother tells him about Steele and then tells Joe that everyone should be proud of his heroism. After Sparky shows the new modification of her wheelchair that allows her to walk, Irons smiles and hugs her.
Hold on. That's not at all what that does. Wait a minute. I think whoever wrote the Wikipedia summary of Steel maybe didn't fully comprehend the movie. Oh, man.
Maybe it was in like an earlier draft of the script.
Maybe. It's like the first Nuclear Man in Superman 4.
Exactly, yeah.
It doesn't really come across in the finished product.
Oh, was there a comic adaptation for this movie?
There 100% was.
Excellent.
It was written by Louise Simonson and illustrated by John Bogdanoff.
Awesome.
I tried to read it, but I couldn't find it.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah,
Wow.
I was excited to read it too, and yeah, I couldn't find it.
I may have to try to hunt that down in a dollar bin somewhere.
That's going to be a good book to hunt for, I think.
Although, with as quick as this movie was turned around, who knows? Maybe they just ran with the first draft.
That's true. That's entirely true.
There is a lot of stuff in this that feels very first drafty.
The timeline it feels very short.
Yeah, but also they hint that it has actually been much longer.
Yeah, it's real weird.
Yeah, like when John moves back to LA, like he stops and visits Sparks in the hospital first.
Yeah.
And then he's there seemingly like 2-3 days, maybe. But then like tries to call her in the hospital, but she's been transferred to St. Louis, and he flies all the way out to visit her, and talks about all the letters that he wrote to her.
Right.
I'm just like, wait, you've been gone a week.
Can we jump back for just a second?
Absolutely.
And talk about that first hospital scene.
Okay.
Like they're talking about, like, he brings her flowers, which is very nice.
Yeah.
And then she says something about like they're talking about how he has left the service, and she's like, well, I'll come visit you once I'm back on my feet.
Yeah.
And there is a shot of like the nurse who's in the room.
Yes, there is.
Who just looks at Shaquille O'Neal and shakes her head. I laughed so hard.
I did catch that, and I only noticed it on my second viewing.
I was going to ask if you watched it more than once.
I did. Which I'm kind of glad I did, because there's a scene later on when John is being framed for robbery and is arrested as being, suspected of being the Steel Vigilante.
Right.
And there's like a police lineup scene. somehow I totally missed that entire scene.
Oh my god, that
first
scene's
viewing.
that scene's so great. Like, let's put a 7'1" person in a lineup with people who are significantly not as tall as him. Oh man.
If anything, that is the one major downfall of the suspension of disbelief in this movie, is that Shaquille O'Neal is 89 feet tall.
Right.
And incredibly inconspicuous.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's something that they talk about on How Did This Get Made whenever they do a Schwarzenegger movie.
Yeah.
Like trying to believe that he's like a scientist or an insurance salesman or whatever. And I was like, okay, I can sort of see that, but you probably get over it at some point, don't you? And then I watched this movie and realized, no, you do not.
Yeah. I mean, you and I are both what many consider to be very tall men.
That's true, yeah.
And, and with the people that we know and we love and we hang around with, they're pretty short to us.
Yeah.
But, we are nowhere near as tall as Shaquille O'Neal. And we would seem just as short to him as, the people we know are to us.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And also, I would be very intimidated.
I would be unnerved.
Yeah. 20 some years ago, when I used to work at a hotel, we had a bar in the hotel, and we often got, a handful of celebrities coming through, our area there.
Okay.
And there was a football player that came in once and got really drunk and loud and obnoxious, and just came up to the desk just full bore, and he was massive. Just like 6'8", and just
Oh jeez.
probably about 6'4" wide.
He was a Rob Liefeld cable drawing, is what
Kind
it sounds
of,
like.
yeah, just a box of a man, and just like came up to the desk, just already drunk, slurring and yelling because the airport lost his luggage and I didn't know where it was because it's not my fucking fault.
Right.
And and then he just started yelling at me and accused me of being racist. Because he was like, because, I come up here and I'm trying to ask you a question and, all of a sudden, like, you seem like you're scared of me or something. I was like, yeah. You're a big man and you're yelling at me. And as big as I am, you are bigger.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yikes.
Speaking of giant black men, Kevin Grievo is in this movie as well.
Is he like the henchman with the super deep voice?
Yes, he is.
His voice freaked me out. Like, it didn't sound real. It sounded like someone doing a voice.
Yeah, especially there are a couple times where he speaks off camera. And
Yeah.
it's just, and it, I read something about like when because he is perhaps best known as the co-creator of the Underworld franchise.
Right.
And he does play one of the werewolf characters in the first movie. And I guess like on press junkets, people asked him like, so like, was that your real voice? And then he would talk, and it was, because it does sound like it is digitally altered.
Yeah, it was crazy deep.
Yeah. But yeah, he is also a comic book writer.
Yeah, that's awesome.
He wrote New Warriors for a while.
Yes.
He is the creator of Blue Marvel.
Oh, I didn't realize that. That's
Oh,
cool.
yeah. Apparently, that was a character he created when he was like 11 or something like that.
Nice.
And as I mentioned, the creator of the Underworld franchise and the I, Frankenstein franchise.
Ooh, is that a franchise?
No.
Does that count as a franchise?
No.
If it's one.
They wanted it to be more.
And if it's Frankenstein? Like, I feel like the state of Mary Shelley might have something to say about that.
It is barely a Frankenstein. And it is definitely not a franchise, as hard as they tried. I think I watched part of that movie once, and it's like he's fighting gargoyles?
Wow.
It's like, it's not even him. It's like two factions of gargoyles that are at war. And Frankenstein, quote unquote, gets caught up in the middle of it.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, Aaron Eckhart, what are you doing?
Apparently not much these days.
Aw.
Sadly. Because he's great.
I do really like him.
Yeah. Only decent part of Dark Knight.
Agree to disagree, but all
Okay.
right.
Steel.
Steel, yeah. Did you notice, like, they edited out some profanity poorly?
Did they?
Throughout. There's
Okay.
at least a couple parts where you could tell that they had dubbed in dialogue where there was profanity.
Okay.
Like the part where I specifically noticed it was I think when Steele has gone into the weapons sale and Richard Roundtree is trying to contact Sparks on the radio, and he says something like we're in dark spit or something.
Oh, okay. Wow.
But you can clearly read that he said we're in deep shit.
Right. Which is weird. It's a PG-13 movie. And,
Yeah.
and there is swearing in it.
Yeah. I thought it was very strange.
Yeah. I mean, from Richard Roundtree, I would surely expect worse swearing.
Yeah.
I mean, he is Shaft.
It's true.
Can you dig it?
I can.
There's some eye-rolling moments with him. He is also not giving what I would consider a great performance in this movie.
He is getting paid for this movie.
Yep. There's a lot of very young actors also, not at the top of their game.
Yeah.
And there's the kid with an eye patch, who I think, like, when John Steele goes to confront him at the hangout bar or whatever.
Yeah.
And he is like wearing like bondage gear and like a cape, I think, and opera gloves.
Yeah.
I was just like, there is so much happening with this guy. This is just a hat on a hat on a hat.
They were like, okay, so the gang colors are purple. So what do we have in wardrobe that's purple? Just put it all on him.
Yep. Oh boy, it just it reminded me of. I mean, the part of the thing of Kenneth Johnson like hanging out in the hood to get realism into the script,
Right.
just really goes out the window when you just see like, how some of these characters are dressed and the way they act, and just like this has to be a put on, right?
Can I tell you the part that maybe made me the most uncomfortable?
Okay.
Is Steele's very first super feat. So this affluent older white couple is mugged.
Yes.
And Steele tracks down the mugger and gets their stuff back.
Yes. Played by John Hawkes.
Yes, played by John Hawkes. And then when he returns the victims their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like he says something along the lines of on behalf of the people of Los Angeles, I apologize. And it felt wrong. Like this large black man is apologizing to these rich white people. Like, just the optics of it. And then he gets on the escalator and rides up backwards and waves to them.
Yeah.
It's oh man. What are they doing?
There's a lot of stuff in this movie that you might be able to consider problematic. Especially in this day and age. And yeah, there definitely does seem to be an aspect of, I don't know, racial overcompensation, maybe?
Yeah.
Just in spaces. It's never presented in this movie as, like, a thing, though.
Right. Yeah, that was what was weird about it to me.
Yeah.
Is like there's the part at the beginning after John testifies in court about Judd Nelson, who is in this movie. I don't think we've even talked about.
Not a bit.
I mean, he's fine. He's not really doing anything in this movie.
He's hamming it up.
Yeah, but he testifies in military court and basically gets Judd Nelson kicked out of the military. And they have a confrontation in the hallway outside of the courtroom, and like that felt like it was going to end with him. Like he stifles him. Judd Nelson stifles himself before he calls John Henry we don't know what he was going to say, but it felt like it was going to be a racial slur.
Sure.
And I feel like that's really the only time, and it's not even a real thing. Like, I may just be projecting that onto the movie, but like, it's just really weird.
Yeah. I think you are projecting a little bit, but yeah, Judd Nelson's character does seem like the kind of guy who at least thought it.
Yeah.
Multiple times. He is the villain of this movie, and pretty much a nothing.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, from the jump.
Yeah. Yeah, like I think that's probably the biggest failing of this, is that there's a threat, but it's like the stakes seem so low.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's about Judd Nelson stealing the tech that John made to sell as weapons to whoever wants to buy it.
Yeah, basically, he's gonna lease them the weapons.
Oh, okay, all right.
So that these are, as he says, complicated machines, electronic machines that will need constant maintenance and recharging. So basically, he's trying to sell these people computers,
right?
That only he will be able to install the patch software, which is kind of a clever plan, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's just it feels hollow.
Yeah.
But at the same time, going back to what we talked about an hour ago. It is refreshing that, it's not some big universal planetary threat that Steel has to fight, somehow against overwhelming odds.
That's true.
It's very small. It's very localized. There's 6 characters in this movie. It was made for $10.
I think if the plot of the movie had just been Steel fighting the Nazis that we see at one point in the movie,
yeah,
like that would have been fine too.
I mean, it certainly would be a lot more relevant today than anything else that happens in this. So I've never been a big Steel fan. Like I like him fine enough. I enjoyed him in his, various appearances, but I never went out of my way to like read his solo book or anything like that.
Sure.
But the the fact of, how he came to be in the comics, I think also sort of colors my view of this movie.
Yeah.
And that it feels like you could still have like this small localized story about just like this working class guy becoming a superhero on, just, a budget and, elbow grease. But still have the sort of the big origin of it,
Yeah.
like being being inspired by Superman, I think would have been nice, other than the fact that he just has a Superman tattoo.
Yeah.
Which that also makes me wonder, does Superman exist in this universe?
Well, there are references to both Superman and Batman,
Yes, there are.
which I thought was real weird.
But is it, just because everybody knows them as comic and movie characters, or like do they actually exist?
Yeah. Who knows?
But then once you start answering things like that, then you eventually get things like the fucking Eternals,
Right,
and how they're
yeah.
going to fit into Phase 4.
Yeah, like was Steel going to be in the 5th Batman movie? Who knows? Oh.
So part of the oral history of this was that Quincy Jones basically spearheaded this entire thing.
Right.
He was a fan of the comic and wanted to do a movie about just, a black superhero who, just sort of comes from the streets and is a working man hero. And then, they knew Shaq was a big Superman fan and got him involved early on. And then they got Kenneth Johnson involved. And they said, Shaq's attached. And he said, great, who's going to star in it?
Oh, no. I mean, I understand, but oh, no.
Yep. So apparently, once he accepted the fact that Shaq was going to be his lead, he asked Warner Brothers, okay, well, can we at least build out the cast with stars, to support him and open things up more? And they said no.
What do you mean? Judd Nelson's, he's a big name.
Sure. Annabeth Gish, I mean,
Richard
she's been in other
Roundtree?
things.
Yeah.
I also did read that the grandmother, whose name I cannot remember right off the top of my head, apparently she signed on to the movie because she loved Superman comics.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, so then, apparently the budget was only like $25 million, but he made it for like 16.
Oh, wow. Just use all the money. What are you doing?
He's very efficient. He comes from TV.
Okay, fair enough.
And then WB Marketing did not market this movie.
That sounds right.
Yep. And it made a total of $1 million at the box office.
Oh my god. Oh, that's horrible.
And so Kenneth Johnson then said later, like he was having lunch with a WB executive, and they were just like, yeah, we probably should have promoted it somewhat. And it was like, and you were right, when you asked if we could actually get, someone to star in the movie as Steel, we probably should have, taken Shaq out and given you like Wesley Snipes or something like that. And he's like, well, why didn't you? He's like, because we thought Shaq would sell more toys.
Yeah, that sounds right too.
Yep. Mm-hmm. That totally sounds like the WBMO.
Oh, man. Yeah, so they were going for 2 toyetic superhero movies that year.
Yep.
Amazing.
Somebody must have said that word to somebody.
Yeah.
Once. And it became a thing.
Oh, man. Was there anything in the oral history about a romance between John Henry Irons and Sparks that was cut from the movie?
No.
Okay, because it feels like that's supposed to be there.
Right? Like, I could not figure that out, honestly.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I guess they have some chemistry together, but not a lot.
Yeah.
And it feels way more intimate than just being really good friends. But,
yeah, like there are scenes where people look at them like, oh, when are those kids gonna get together?
Yes, you're right. Especially like at the end, for sure.
Absolutely.
Just before she, transforms her wheelchair into the walking machine.
Right. Now, Eric, hold on.
What? That happened in this movie.
She's just standing. She's not walking.
She hit a button on the wheelchair, and then she's moving around in an exoskeleton. I saw it twice.
All right. I guess I need to watch the movie again because I missed that part. Oh man. But yeah, like that scene when she stands up in the chair, like they kiss there. That's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah,
but they just hug.
They just hug. But like just before that, like like she and Shaq are kind of looking at each other, and then like Grandma is like eyeballing Uncle Joe, like, oh, it's about to happen. But they like touch fingers and hug. Yeah.
Eskimo kisses. Is that what that is? No, that's noses. That's rubbing noses. I forget what the finger touch is. That's just like a thing that kids do, is just making kisses.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
I don't know.
I believe you.
Oh man. Yeah. It was just real weird.
Yep. No, it super is. And I don't know. Like, part of me is like, okay, I'm glad there wasn't a romance angle to this.
Yeah.
But you are right. There is a lot of hints that it is supposed to be, which just makes it all weirder.
Right.
Boy, this movie.
Yeah, this movie. I'm glad we watched it.
Me too. Yeah, like it is not good. It's kind of sluggishly paced. It looks cheap. It feels cheap. It is, your lead actor is a guy who is not an actor.
Right.
I mean, maybe he's gotten better. I feel like his recent commercials for The General have been pretty decent.
Yes, I especially liked his star turn in the Papa John's Super Bowl commercial. Oh, man.
There's that gif of him, shaking his shoulders, and then the cat, shaking its butt. That tickles me to no end.
That's probably his best work, honestly. Holy shit. I want a gif of him in the steel armor when he's like waving bye-bye.
I'm sure it exists.
Probably.
Oh, man.
Ooh.
Steel. We talked the hell out of this movie.
We did.
I'm impressed with us.
I am too. We're pretty good at talking about shitty movies.
Yeah, we are.
Oh, anything bringing you happiness this week?
No.
All right. Fair.
It is. Last week was fucking rough, and it's still not recovering. So
yeah, I know you had a rough weekend too.
Yep.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
It's all right.
I don't know. Yeah. Big Brother's been really good this season. That's about it.
All right. Glad to hear it. You know what? I will say this. The new issue of Nightwing came out this week, and it was spectacular.
Yes, yeah, I think we've talked about Nightwing before.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's way better than it has any right or reason to be, and it's super good.
Yep. So that'll be my joy for the week.
I like that. I'm going to steal that as well.
Excellent. That works.
Also, Wally West comics are not terrible, so I'll take it.
They're fine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I said I would take it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Like my little... I read the new issue, and then I posted about it on Twitter like I do every time I read a comic.
Right.
And I was just like, I guess I'm just glad Wally West is back.
Yeah, he's in hands that are not actively trying to harm him anymore.
Yeah.
So, yay.
Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, you're right.
Actually, I thought that the 2-issue arc with the Heatwave story that just ended was actually really solid. It was nice setup for whatever his status quo is going to be, and all of the Heatwave stuff. It hit close to home and was very relatable.
Yeah, I did not think about that. Yeah,
the oncologist that he sees in the first issue is the worst oncologist who has ever been an oncologist. Just gonna throw her hands up and be like, "Well, I got nothing. You're on your own, pal."
You know, not everybody can graduate at the top of their class.
I guess that's true.
You know, when you're out looking for doctors, you got to realize that one of these people probably came in last, but still made it.
That's a good point. I know how I was in college. I'm sure there are doctors who were like that too.
Yep.
Shall I pick a movie for next week?
You should.
Okay. Yeah, all right. So this movie is probably one that you've seen before.
Okay.
But I'm wondering if you would be open to watching it again.
Alrighty.
A few years ago, I went on a little kick where I watched all of the Hammer Films Frankenstein movies. Speaking of Frankenstein.
Yes.
And I had intended to move on to their Dracula movies.
Okie dokie.
But I never got around to it.
Okie dokie.
So I noticed that HBO Max has added The Horror of Dracula to their catalog, and I would like to watch that.
I cannot say for sure if I've actually seen it or not.
Really? Okay.
No offense to the Hammer horror movies, because I will just say that I enjoy the hell out of most of them. There's a lot.
There is a lot.
And they all have crazy titles. Mm-hmm. And I'm not quite sure which ones I've seen or not.
Okay.
I can definitively tell you 2 that I've seen, and they are not The Horror of Dracula.
Okay.
But I have seen multiples of the Christopher Lee Dracula movies.
Okay.
So maybe I have.
Yeah,
maybe I haven't.
This is the very first one.
Okay. Again, maybe
came out in 1958. I believe it was also released internationally just as Dracula.
Okay.
So, if that helps you at all.
It doesn't, but
okay.
I mean, I'm not turning it down because I am always in the mood to watch Christopher Lee as Dracula.
Excellent.
And there might even be a possibility I own this on Blu-ray.
Ooh, that's awesome.
A year ago, I bought a Blu-ray set of just random Hammer movies. And that may be one of them.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right. So yeah, we're going from one rapper in Shaquille O'Neal to another in Hammer.
I see what
that's how this works, right?
Yeah. I thought you were going to go with the Christopher Lee angle where he had a metal album.
I forgot about that. Oh man. I'm gonna listen to that to get in the mood for it.
The soundtrack for Steel.
Oh shit. Oh man, it's awful.
It's not good at all. No. But to me, the standout song, no pun intended, is a track that plays over the end credits. I believe it also plays another place in the movie.
At least one other place.
Yeah, but it is co-written by Kenneth Johnson.
Oh, I didn't notice that. That's awesome. That explains a lot, too.
Yeah. It is also not on the official soundtrack.
That's really weird.
Yep. But I think like the first like needle drop in the movie is Young MC's "Bust a Move."
Yes.
Which I believe at this point is at least 10 years old when the movie has come out.
You know what? That song is great.
It's fine. I was a huge Young MC fan. It was weird.
Yeah, no, it was very strange. I agree.
Yeah, but Shaq has a few tracks on the soundtrack, I believe, and
nice.
It was overall not great. but I would definitely recommend people track down the song that plays over the end credits.
Yeah, it's worth at least one listen, and probably never again.
Tying it back to Alien Nation, I think it stands up with the song that plays over the credits in that movie.
I forgot all about that song.
I remember it because you read it in its entirety. All right, The Horror of Dracula.
Yeah, on HBO Max.
I am looking forward to it greatly.
Excellent. Well, we will talk about that next week.
Excellent. Good night.
Thank you for listening to The Viewmasters. You can subscribe to the show directly at view.guttertrash.net or at iTunes and leave us a review. Visit view.guttertrash.net for email information and links to Facebook and Twitter. We'll see you next time on The Viewmasters.